Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
No.
Just kidding. Hey guys, my name is RyanCentral and welcome to HitScan. It has been a long time since we covered Overwatch on this channel, and like Miska's going to highlight, there are a few reasons why, but a lot of stuff has happened in that time, and honestly, it's some of the best stuff that Blizzard has done around the balance and communication of Overwatch, and it's really setting itself up nicely for the future. But Miska wants to talk about why it's been so long since we made an Overwatch video.
First off, yes, you're right. Lately there's been quite a lack of Overwatch videos on this channel, and it's for quite a few different reasons really. We already started making fewer, not daily videos earlier on, actually starting in 2019 and then continuing into 2020 here. And moving away from daily content really made us appreciate how we can put more effort into individual videos, but we still felt a bit restricted after I made Overwatch videos for about 4 or 5 years. That we just wanted to tackle something new as well, and Valorant kind of became that. So with those different things and finding out how we could make really high quality individual videos for Valorant, we've just been very caught up doing that and have really been enjoying that. Just like we said back then last year though, we haven't given up on Overwatch as a whole at all. We still follow the game closely, the news around it. It's just very busy times for Valorant and not as busy times for Overwatch. I feel like it makes sense. Really, we're just making videos on whatever we're enjoying making videos on the most at that time. There's really not much more to our decision of making videos on a game or not. And speaking of which, let's continue with this video, which is actually a topic that Ryan and I have been talking about between us for the past 2 months or so around Overwatch, so yeah, that's why we're here making this video.
To start this video talking about the things that Overwatch is doing really well at the moment, I actually ironically want to start with something that a Riot dev said about the balance and philosophy of Overwatch, because I think he hits the nail on the head.
The experiences you can have on a character in Overwatch, like playing a Genji or playing a Pharah or playing, I don't know, whoever you think is dope, whatever, is such a maximum awesome version of that experience most of the time. Like, I don't think anything could feel much better than playing one of those characters. I don't think anything could be more engaging as the thing. I think I would trade that off to make sure that the game competitively was super strong. Even if it means that experience isn't the absolute maximum version of that, as opposed to introducing content that would be really fun to play and really awesome for players who like that kind of agent or character, but would basically reduce competitive integrity by a significant degree, or make the game feel clowny, or make the game feel like non-tactical. These things are things we're really philosophically like ultra aligned on in the design team, and it's probably what I would call the hill to die on for us. And again, I say this as somebody who actually really likes Overwatch because I like that experience, but I go in with expectations that are, I'm gonna go have a dope time playing fucking cool characters, and I can't beat it. Like if you said, Morello, can you make characters better than I'm like, nope.
There's no denying that you feel amazing when you're playing any one of the heroes within Overwatch, because all of the heroes feel amazing to play. If you want to be a healer, if you want to use the mechanical skill, use just some of the most clever abilities that were created in the scene in a class shooter like this, then you're going to have a grand old time. But of course, Overwatch's competitive aspect has been criticized quite a lot, not only by people within the community, but people are viewing it from a distance. And it's something that Blizzard have struggled with. There's no denying that balance of Overwatch, in a competitive sense at least, has been really awkward for them. So in a sense, competitive integrity, a big buzzword for Valorant, isn't really there as much for Overwatch as it would be for Counter-Strike or Valorant as an example. But I think the thing that Blizzard realized recently is they don't care, because they have something so unique that nobody else can really channel into it. Instead of trying to make it a much more balanced, cooperative game, with stuff like hero pools and dumbing down heroes to be a lot better just in general, they play to their strengths. They know that their characters are super amazing fun to play, and they want to keep that and focus on that instead of dumbing everybody down. And there's a perfect example of this that's already happened this year, Echo. I remember one of the first streams that Sinatra had when he was playing with Jeff on a new hero, and Jeff was just like, she feels amazing to play, and Sinatra's there like, yeah, but she's probably a little bit broken. But the main focus there for Blizzard was she's amazing fun to play. They can work with the rest over time as they've been doing. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've pretty much said this about every hero that's come out since launch, but Echo is the best hero the Blizzard have created. It's the most ridiculous. You will never find anything like that in another class-based shooter. Blizzard know that, and that's what they're sort of channeling, and why Overwatch is in a pretty nice spell, to be honest, right now. Quiet, sure, bit static, but balance of the game is only getting better and better.
This really ties into nicely what Overwatch has become and what it actually was from the start. Over the past 4 years or so, Overwatch has changed a lot over the different metas, new maps and new characters that have been introduced. But early on, there was definitely a lot more chaos to it and finding strengths and synergy within that chaos that made for cool, satisfying and just really awesome like play of the games, for example. Remember what the game felt like on launch, for example, when there was no hero limit? Everyone were figuring out how to even play. And because of the nature of Overwatch and how brawly it is much harder to make sense of straight away. And that spirit of finding those nuances in the chaos and really letting those shine and the craziness of the abilities shine. That's what we're coming back to after all this time. But in the middle of that, it definitely felt like we fell into much more of a stale meta or just ridiculously strong new character type of episodes over and over. It feels like we've moved away from that more the past few months, and now Blizzard are really leaning into those strengths of Overwatch again and letting it be that crazy game that everyone fell in love with back in 2015, 2016. Because I think if you try to organize that chaos too much, you are gonna get too much of a boring, streamlined mirror matchup type of process that is gonna be the ideal way of playing the game. And even if that might not be exactly the case in every single rank, you're gonna be affected by seeing all of the pros play one type of mirror matchup. You're gonna be affected by seeing all the people in higher rank playing these characters. They're all very set and locked in, and if Overwatch can become much more experimental and freer again, then that's good for everyone, really.
That's been the biggest issue that Blizzard has had 4 years into the lifespan of Overwatch, is the competitive balance of certain heroes within the game and their response time in order to try and fix it and how they go about fixing it too. It's not so much that GOATS comp was allowed to happen by Blizzard, it's more the fact that it lasted as long as it did, 6 to 8 months before Blizzard put in role lock of all things to try and stem that flow. It was the same with the Sigma Orisa meta late last year. It just lasted so long and it burnt out a lot of players and made them think, is Blizzard even listening to us? But I've got to say, and this is the same thing for a lot of different games like Counter-Strike for example, Valorant is the best thing to ever happen to Overwatch, certainly this late into its lifespan. In the time that Valorant's been a thing and we've not been making Overwatch content, we have seen some pretty amazing experimental changes, nerfs to Moira, buffs to Ashe, which has made her meta for the first time ever really, the addition, change and removal of hero pools, which is what I want to talk about now, but also a huge amount of communication. There is a Discord now between the sort of head community managers of Blizzard and us, the content creators. You know, your Overwatcher in there, Stylos is in there, big streamers as you can expect and may have seen on other YouTube channels, because Jeff Kaplan now and again comes in to answer some questions to give their perspective on stuff that we can then relay to you as the audience. That, for a content creator, is an amazing thing to have available to you, and something that we've not had in all this time. We had Morello from Riot talking about balance changes within Valorant recently, and even though you don't necessarily agree with maybe the addition of a healer within a tactical shooter, the best thing that you could do is at least listen to the reasoning as to why they're in there and why they're balanced that way. You can understand what Riot are thinking about their balance and then understand their perspective and the problems that they may be facing to stop them doing what you want them to do. If Blizzard are radio silent like they have been in the period that GOATS comp was a thing and double barriers was a thing, it makes them seem like they don't care. So the biggest thing for me recently has been the communication with content creators, but also the community themselves. But like I said, hero pools is the biggest one that's been happening recently. The addition, the change in how it works, how they've sort of tried to wrestle with a system like that, and then gone, actually, we're confident enough in our balancing ability now that we don't feel that we need it. And I think that's very much been applicable when you look at the patches that have come in. More frequent patches, more aggressive patches to the meta, the things that Blizzard promised at the start of 2020, they're still able to do. I remember back when it was announced, that seemed to be enough for myself and Miska at least, but when he announced hero bans and Blizzard controlled hero bans, it felt like overkill, and that was very much the case. The balance changes recently in each of the experimental patches, which by the way is another amazing feature that has been implemented in the last 6 months, that along with the balance changes and the communication that they have with us as content creators and also the community in general is making making Overwatch in a much stronger spot, the experimentation in the Overwatch League to have more tournaments, which are much more exciting to watch than the boring league format, especially now where everything's up in the air with COVID. It's all stuff that Blizzard is allowing themselves to do, to experiment, to change, to get feedback from the community, and do better. And that's what they've been doing. This is why we wanted to make this video. I don't want anybody to feel that we haven't been making Overwatch videos because Blizzard have been doing such a terrible job. They're not. And when you compare that with the big flashy launch of Valorant with so much stuff to cover there, I think it comes as no surprise why we've been making so many Valorant videos and not so much Overwatch stuff.
Finally, the future and Overwatch 2, and this is where I think really Blizzard can tie it all together. Introducing a bunch new heroes at once, for example in Overwatch 2, and introducing the PvE elements can really bring back focus to those abilities and to those heroes that everyone sort of initially grew so attached to, but that to some degree have kind of fallen out of the spotlight over the years. Now, naturally that's going to happen as people discover the game and learn everything there is to learn about the current characters, and Overwatch 2 can hopefully reignite that flame just a little bit more. In a way, I think it's quite good that Blizzard decided to not just continue in their own content plan with the same sort of cycle every year, because yeah, adding new heroes was cool, all of those reveals and the new characters coming to the game for the first time, that was awesome to see, but to really reignite what Overwatch was sort of meant to be from the start, I do think they need this little bit of time to turn the game off and back on again almost, to make it function the way that everyone wants it to. When we get closer to that, and especially when we start seeing reveals and new information, you'll be seeing that on this channel as well. We'll try to communicate kind of when we'll be making videos versus not, but all in all, a good rule of thumb for expecting Overwatch content on this channel right now is if there's something major regarding news or upcoming content for Overwatch, we will probably be talking about that here. But when it comes to changes to the current game, don't expect a video every single time. All in all, we're really just going to be making those videos when we feel like we can make a fun video that's worth our time, that we think we can just put a bit of extra effort into and really enjoy making. Because if we're not enjoying making those videos, it's just not going to be good content for you guys anyway. Alright, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Gonna hand it back to Ryan for the proper outro, but we'll see you guys around, and Overwatch is definitely not gone from this channel entirely. Just keep an eye out.
Yeah, that's going to do it this time. Thank you very much for watching. Like Miska and myself have highlighted in this video, Overwatch is still on our mind. Overwatch 2 especially is going to be a big focus for us, I feel. You are talking to a guy that did a YouTube channel on Borderlands 3, all of the build guides, how to get certain weapons and gear and all that jazz. I hope that Overwatch 2 is able to follow the likes of Diablo, Borderlands 3, Destiny, when it comes to that PvE progression fashion. I think what we saw at BlizzCon with the PvE mission was a bit too bare bones for my liking, but with any luck they added a lot more to it, a bit more meat and bones like they've said they will, and it's going to become a major game. The key thing here is that Valorant is still in a nice hot streak and we want to cover more of it, but I'm pretty sure when Overwatch comes to launch, Valorant would have quietened down a little bit, and then we may switch our focus now onto doing Overwatch 2's launch and making a lot of videos there. We have that freedom now as a channel called HitScan, but the idea that we're just quitting Overwatch for good just isn't true. You could expect a few more videos this month, but don't expect a crazy amount, of course, because it is going to still relatively be quiet in comparison to Valorant, but thanks for all of your support regardless whether you watch this for Valorant stuff or not. Take care, we'll see you next time.